You thought that I was playing in the past. Now I'm super fast, real raw, relevant. I'm also known as super bad, with a super attitude. If you don't like it, you can book a pass and be the first in line to kiss mine. Wait a minute, what I mean is I'm a lion, not a sheep. I don't need a weakling around to try to follow me. I'm destined to be better, getting bigger every day. I don't got the patience to sit around try to play. Focus like an animal, king of the jungle.
We good? We rolling? We on? Check, check, check. Check a 1 2 1 2. My friends, welcome to the Revolution Podcast. Will you close that over for me, please? There's like an echo in here. My name is Sean Whalen, as you might well know. You might well know this. Some of you might not. I'm doing a solo cast today. I'm going to start doing some of these. Like I get asked so many questions so often that I decided that there's a lot of content, there's enough discussion to be had around certain topics. Then I'm going to start doing a couple podcasts a week, actually. And some of these podcasts that I do will just be solo ones, shorter ones, quicker ones. My buddy Andy does one. What does Andy call it? It's Thursday Thunder. Andy does Thursday Thunder. And then my other buddy Ryan, and these are all guys you should check out. My friends, follow them. They have great podcasts, killer content, super good dudes. I think Ryan's is called Field Notes Friday or something like that, where they just kind of do short ones. But welcome to today's podcast. I have Jake here with me. I just actually introduced Jake to a new art, and the art is pipe smoking. Smoking a pipe. It is an art. Do not get me wrong. Do not be mistaken, my friends. It's classy as shit. It's also very artistic because there are millions of different styles of pipes, and when you're smoking a pipe, when you choose a pipe, it's like buying a painting. It's like a Mona Lisa of sorts. And so I just took Jake a little expedition before the podcast here and took him to my favorite smoke shop in Salt Lake City. And we got him his very first pipe, so it's a pleasure seeing him smoking his pipe. But I went from cigars to pipes. I still smoke the cigars, but pipes are they're classy. They don't smell as much, and they're just classy. So, my friends, I want to share something with you today. This podcast comes at the heels of a post that went viral. Now, I don't know what the word viral means per se, meaning I can't quantify it and say if something has 1 million likes, it's considered viral, or 5 million likes, or whatever it is. But to me, anything that has hundreds of thousands of likes, hundreds of thousands of comments, millions of likes, millions of shares, to me, that's viral. So if I am not hitting your viral numbers, well, then piss off. But to me, this is viral. So I did a video 3 days ago. So this has been up now for 3 days. And on my page alone, it has 356,000 shares, 144,000 comments, 70,000 likes, and on my personal page, it has 8.4 million views. Now, a few other people shared it. I also shared it on my public page, which I think has like 2.2 or 2.3 million views, a few 100,000 comments, so on and so forth. But this video here on my page has 1.3 million engagements, which Facebook defines engagements as total number of reactions. So that's like your smiley faces, your hearts, your like, your love, your frowny face, your crying face, your angry face, whatever the fuck all those faces are. Total number of reactions, comments, and shares. So total number of engagements, which would be a like, a heart, a frowny face, who knows, maybe they have a fuck you emoji or whatever it is, 1.3 million, which is fascinating. But what's interesting is this, and this is what I wanted to share with you guys today, and really help a lot of people understand this, is I've had multiple posts go viral now. A half a dozen posts that have over 1 million, well, more than that, probably close to 10 posts that have over 1 million likes. This isn't my biggest video. Some of my videos have 15 plus million views, and this is just on my personal page. This is not including anybody that shared it. The guy that shared this one that I did 3 days ago, it has 11 million or 12 million views, so he has even far more than I do, and far more engagements than I do, but it all comes from this one video. I've been asked the same question multiple times, a few dozen times, in fact, since this post went viral, by not only my clients, but people in my tribe, people in the Lion's Den, and also just people saying, Sean, how did this go viral? What is this viral video, and how do I do one? And what's really interesting is everybody would love to have the viral post and kind of become the post that goes crazy that everybody talks about, and it builds this huge tribe, and it makes you tons of money, and this, that, and the other, so on and so forth. Let me share a couple things with you about social media. Okay, a lot of things that I have figured out and I have found out. Now, before I share this with you really quick, like the backstory of how, for those of you that don't know me, maybe this is your first time listening to the podcast, I had a post about 3.5 years ago go viral. That was my very first one. Now, I had a few hundred friends, maybe 20 or 30 followers, if that. I was your typical dude just using Facebook to talk shit, and really all I was doing was talking shit about my divorce and bankruptcy and all kinds of other stuff. And one night I shared a really raw post about my divorce, and I shared a picture that I had taken earlier in the day with my ex-wife's new baby. Now, the backstory of that is that we spent quite a long time arguing and fighting in courts, and hell, for 6 months we had to pick up and drop off our kids from a police station with a police escort. So getting to the point that I actually was able to take a picture with her baby was a huge deal. Huge deal. And I did a post that night when I went to bed, and I shared some really raw shit. And I talked about how I was an asshole in my divorce, and I just did a lot of stupid stuff, and I was just a total dick. And how I never in a million years could foresee the day that I would be sitting in her home, number one, or number two, holding her brand new baby. And I shared that, and when I went to bed, it had 20 or 30 likes, and when I woke up the next morning, it said 1K. And I didn't know what 1K meant. I was like shaking my phone. I'm like, is this thing broken? So on and so forth. Well, every hour that day, it had over 10,000 new likes, and it was shared millions of times. It had millions of likes. It ended up going what people consider viral, okay? That was the very first post of mine. So I didn't, you can't buy into this, all of a sudden everybody sees your shit, and you become kind of this internet sensation, if you will, or this internet celebrity, or whatever the hell you want to call this thing. There's really no book you can buy, or manual you can follow, or recipe that will give you this ability, or just all of a sudden, voila, bam, here's this viral video. I know companies that will spend thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing messages, on videos, on different types of promotions in order to try and get things to go viral. And it doesn't work. It ends up flopping, or it ends up, we try and copy. I know a lot of people that have tried to copy guys like the Dollar Shave Club. Mike, who started the Dollar Shave Club, had his very first video that he did is really what made that company. And the rhyme or the reason to it, we don't know. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. Just go to Dollar Shave Club on YouTube and look at their video. But I believe it had something like 8 million views the very first day, and they had thousands of orders that ultimately made that company. But there's really no rhyme or reason to it, because I've done some videos and some posts over the last couple of years that I'm like, dude, people are going to love this. People are going to share the shit out of this. And it ends up being crickets. And then something like this ends up going completely nuts. The video that I did 2 years ago on the beach in North Carolina, some of you may have seen it and know what I'm talking about, but it was about Cecil the Lion and the Confederate flag. This is when Cecil the Lion had just been shot, and the Confederate flag was like a big topic, and how all the government buildings were taking it down, and everybody was pissed off about the Confederate flag instantly and said it was racist and all this other stuff. And I did a 4-minute video walking around on the beach, and it ended up going nuts. It's 15 plus million views on my page, and it was shared by multiple different media outlets and had literally tens of millions of views. But I wasn't even going to post it. I literally did this 4-minute rant and was like, that was fucking stupid. And I ended up just putting it on Facebook with just the title, Lions Not Sheep. I didn't even say what it was. I didn't title it. I just put Lions Not Sheep, and it ended up going completely nuts. So I've had experience with viral videos. I think I can say that. I can say that I've had Posts go viral, videos go viral. And so I kind of have an understanding of them, and I've seen them and I've experienced them, and I've gotten geeked up and excited and watched the numbers go through the roof, and had literally dozens of my friends message me, holy shit, dude, this is incredible. 7 million, now 8 million, now 9 million, now 10 million. But a lot of people keep asking me the same question. How do I do a viral video? How do I build a tribe? How do I do a video that people are going to love, that people are going to get attached to? And how do I do a viral video? My simple answer is you can't. I don't have a blueprint for you. I do, however, have something very critical that I have used and that I feel is at the root of why people follow me. Okay? I want to share this with you because this is not only, call it a help, a life coaching thing, a mentoring thing, whatever the fuck you want to call it, because this recipe that I've put together, this thing that I've found and that I've used over the last few years that I learned from one of my mentors, is ultimately at the root of not what's making things go viral, but who I am. And to preface this, I want to share that I truly believe that the reason people go viral, the reason that things go viral, is not necessarily because of a marketing component, but it's because people are real and they're authentic and it's genuine, and people can feel that shit. We're bombarded every single day with marketing messages, whether we're driving down the freeway and it's a billboard, whether it's a magazine, whether it's a newspaper ad, whether it's this, whether it's this. We're bombarded daily with marketing, and there's some shit that works that you feel, and there's other stuff that you don't. But I truly believe that the more real people are, the more truth people tell, and a major aspect of this is the more consistent people are, the better chance you have of having a viral video, of having something go big. I did what I called my little insight from morning study. And I did over 930 of those in a row. And what that was a challenge from my coach, my first mentor. And he's like, I want you to just put positivity out there. I want to use you to read and study in the morning. And then I want you to do a post of what you learned, what your takeaway was, what your insight was. And so I did a couple dozen of them. And then I came up with this thing like I was just going to share my insight from my study, my little insight, my morning insight. And I did over 900 of those. That's 3 years. A lot of people are like, oh, well, Sean, these overnight videos, this overnight sensation. Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this all the time. There is no such thing as an overnight sensation. I mean, a lot of people, Gary did over 1,000 wine library TVs on YouTube before anybody was ever even fucking watching that stuff. So he laid the groundwork and started doing videos before videos were cool. I've been doing Facebook posts, and people are like, oh, dude, you're just doing all of these posts and all this other stuff. Well, the reality is I've put more content out than most people, and so the chances and the likelihood of one of those going big or, quote, viral, I have a lot better chance than you trying to mystically, magically concoct and create one video that's going to be your all-star, trying to hit that one grand slam. So one of the very first things that I share with people when they ask me, how do you do this, is you got to be consistent. And then you have to follow what I follow on all of my posts, on everything that I do, and ultimately, not just what I share on social media, but how I've chosen to live my life. And it's simply this. You've got to be real. Now, the formula is real, raw, and relevant. I learned this from one of my mentors and have tweaked it a little bit over the years, but real is step number one, and real is the truth. What is the truth? Real equates the truth. Like, what's the truth? And ultimately, I'm going to show you how this coincides with this video that I just did. The truth is that everybody's flipping their shit about all of these NFL players kneeling for the national anthem or not coming out of the tunnel or whatever. The truth is that's a huge topic right now. It's a huge topic, and I have an opinion on it. And that's one thing that I think people could get really comfortable doing, is saying we all have an opinion on something. Like, just because you work for UPS doesn't mean you can't have a political agenda, or just because you own a deli doesn't mean you can't talk about sex. Just because you're an insurance agent doesn't mean that you can't talk about relationships. I mean, we all have an opinion on something, on everything, right? Every single person on this planet has an opinion. When you say to them, "Talk to me about NFL players kneeling down," so we all the real component is the very first component, and that's what's the truth. The truth is players are kneeling down, and here's my opinion on it. I have a truth with it. I have a feeling about it. I have my own interpretation, my own thoughts. So step number one is telling the truth, and then sharing what the truth really is. What's really happening? What's the actual factual occurrence going on? Going back to the very first post that I shared. The truth was being real, step number one, was that I never in a million years imagined that I would be taking a picture with my wife's new baby. So it was the truth. Real. Be real. Get real in your posts. 90% of the stuff, most of the people listening, most of you that are listening to this, most of the stuff you share is shit. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It might come across very negative, but the reality is you water it down, you butter it up so that mom doesn't get offended, your boss doesn't get offended, your people at church don't get offended, and you don't really share what's real. You don't really share the truth. And what I found years ago is that the more real I was, the more truth I shared, the more people engaged with me, the more engagement I got. So if you want this recipe for virality, step number one, be real. Tell the truth. What is the truth? What's really going on? Why are you sharing this? Step number two is raw. So you've got real and then you've got raw. Raw is the emotions. Raw is your emotion behind something. Like what's really happening was I went through a nasty divorce. The truth was I was an asshole. Now, here's how I felt about it. Here's what was going on inside of me. Here's what I learned from it. This is what I understand now. Here's my takeaway. Here's my lesson. If you think about it, friends, like everyone wants to know how. Everyone wants to know the why, right? Cool, you lost millions of dollars. How did you come out of that? You went through a nasty divorce. How did you build a relationship with your ex-wife? So when you talk about raw, it's the emotions, like what was behind it. If you think about everything in our lives, it's got a purpose of emotional connection. Every movie ever made, every marketing message ever put out there, every conversation, there's an emotion behind it. Like if you think about marketing and promotion and stuff, I mean, that's what's sought after. People spend millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars trying to brand their company to emotionally connect with a consumer. I mean, Coke and Pepsi and Budweiser. I mean, think about all of the emotional Budweiser ads with regards to the military or the Clydesdale horses, in slow motion, and they've got the patriotic music, and you see the military members. It's an emotional connection. Raw is the emotion behind it. Raw is what do you really feel? If you get a video and you just share a video and you're like, well, here's my thought and blah, 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 blah. When you're like, motherfucker, this is what I believe. This is what I feel. This is what burns in my soul. Here's what I feel about, and again, paralleling this, my friends, the video that I did about Cecil the Lion, the video that I did about the Confederate flag, my flat out said, I'm like, none of you gave a flying shit about the Confederate flag 2 months ago. Like there were white politicians and black politicians walking in and out of government buildings for the last 50 years with that flag flying. Well, now all of a sudden, Fox and CNN and ABC and NBC say racist. It's racist, and they scream racism, and now everybody's offended. And so my emotion behind it was like, you guys are a bunch of fucking sheep because now you're being told to be offended by this flag where literally 2 weeks ago, you didn't give a shit about it while you were walking in and out of government buildings. And now you see that, you see the emotion. So raw is the emotion. What's my emotional connection to this? What's my emotional connection to these different things? And believe it or not, friends, you have an emotional connection to everything happening on in your life. You have an emotional connection with the car that you drive, with the place that you live, with the work, with your work, with your clothes, with your gym. There's an emotional connection to everything. Why do I wear the clothes that I wear? Why do I wear this versus this? Why do I drive this versus this? There's an emotional connection to everything. So if you tell the truth, if you're real and you tell the truth and you share what's really happening, and then you do it raw, which is emotional, you share your emotions. The third step to how I live my life, to how I put my messages out there, to how I've built my business, to how I share everything is being relevant. What's the relevancy? Like, what's the why behind this? Like, why is this important to me? I tell you what the truth is. I share the truth. I do it with emotion and passion. And then I tell you why this is important to me. I tell you why I'm engaged in this conversation. The how. How did this come to be? How, potentially talking about solutions or so on and so forth. But the formula is real, raw, and relevant is what gets you ultimately the results that you're looking for. And so a lot of people ask me, Sean, like, how do I do this? And my answer is very, very simple, and it's very similar every single time, which is be real, be raw, be relevant. Share the truth. What is the truth? Like, this is what most people struggle with, friends. Most people have a really fucking hard time telling the truth. Now, if I say you're a liar, most people would say I'm not a liar. But then if I say to you, are you telling the truth? Most of you listening to this right now would say, no, I'm not telling the truth on how I really feel about this or this or this or this. Hell, I don't tell my own spouse or my own lover how I really feel about our sex life. Or I don't tell my mom, or I don't tell my kids, or I don't tell my boss. So you're not lying, but the reality is you're not telling the truth. Now, on top of that, not only are you not telling the truth, there's no emotion behind it because I've been taught to bury all that shit. Getting emotional, you're crazy, right? Well, is that crazy or is that emotion? Is that passion? Is that really what's stemming up from inside of you? And if you look consistently across the board at most of my Facebook messages, most of my Facebook posts, the videos that you see me do, the podcasts that you listen to, that either I'm on or I'm hosting or doing myself, I'm emotional. I share with you the passion that I feel. I don't do it as a theatrical performance. I do it simply because it's how I fucking feel. Like, I get fired up about shit. I get fired up. I get intense about stuff, and I share that with people. And then ultimately, the relevancy. Why is this important to me? Why is this conversation right now important to me? Talking about social media. Well, in virality and videos, it's important to me because I'm getting bombarded with messages. And I feel like this is a common thread that people want to know. Sean, how do I do this? How do I build this? This is ultimately what my coaching business is based around. This is ultimately what my consulting company does, is I help entrepreneurs and I help businesses and business owners figure out how to be real, how to be raw, and how to be relevant with their companies, how to chart the territory of sharing things and opening yourself up to truth, sharing it emotionally, and then connecting users, connecting potential customers with your product. That's ultimately what everybody's after, right? That's ultimately what every single one of you who owns a company as a business owner is looking for, is how do I connect my product with a client? How do I connect me with a potential audience? How do I share my stuff in a way that actually is meaningful, that's powerful, that people will listen to? This is the recipe. This is how I live my life. This is what I chose a number of years ago, is I can pretend and I can keep everything bottled up. I can play the quote political correct game and not share emotionally and passionately how I feel. I can bullshit my way through everything and water everything down to try and fit the masses and fit everybody else. But the reality is, friends, if you're copying somebody who's not getting the results that they want, you're going to get the same thing. So why not look at somebody who's doing something extraordinary, whose business is growing, whose videos are going viral? I have videos about politics. I have videos about religion. I have videos about personal issues, which is divorce, and I have videos about suicide and depression that have all gone viral. I have videos about racism. I did during the Ferguson riots. I did a video about how I felt and what the truth was that I saw and what was going on and my emotional connection and what I saw happening to the Ferguson riots that went viral. And so a lot of people are one-trick ponies where they'll do one thing and it'll garner a little bit of attention, and then they try and ride that wave. And I look at it and I tell my people, I tell my clients, I tell my companies that I work with, you got to be real, you got to be raw, and it's got to be relevant. And a lot of people have a hard time figuring that out, and that's ultimately why my coaching business exists and why I help clients and I help people navigate those, and I ask the right questions and dive into who you are and what you are and why you're in business. And ultimately identifying that stuff is what helps people accomplish this. So people have been asking me for 2 days since this thing's gone viral, dude, how the fuck do you do this? How do you have another video on a topic like this on the NFL and players kneeling go viral and have, I think we're now, what, Jake, did we figure 26, 27, 28 million views in the last 48 hours? I mean, almost 30 million views in 48 hours. Literally hundreds of thousands, now probably 3 to 4 million people have engaged with this. 3 to 4 million people have touched this, commented on this, shared this, liked this, have engaged with this. So it's not, I can without question tell you I'm not a one-trick pony. I've shared messages about everything, and I've had a lot of videos go viral. I've had a lot of things get out there. And the name of the game, my friends, is obviously build consistency. It's to build a business. But if you're not using social media, you're an idiot. I mean, I'll just tell you that right now. If you're not using social media, and I don't give a shit if you're selling ping pong balls, I don't care if you import rubber dog shit from China, I don't care if you're in the financial business, if you're a broker, a stockbroker, if you're a financial planner, if you're an insurance broker, if you're a real estate agent, I don't care if you work for UPS or FedEx. I don't care if you're a stay-at-home mom knitting quilts. I don't give a damn if you're a startup selling pipes. If you sell, wickless candles or whatever, it doesn't matter. The universal principles are the same. Be real, be raw, and be relevant. Share with people your truth. Do it with emotion. Do it with passion. And tell people why. Connect people to why you're saying what you're saying, why you're doing what you're doing. Why am I doing this podcast right now? Because so many of you have asked me about it. What's the truth? I just laid out the fucking blueprint and the formula of how I not only share things on social media, but also how I live my life. What's the emotion behind it? You can hear the emotion in my voice. You know how passionate I am about this shit. Doesn't matter what we're talking about. I've got a connection to it, and I'm not going to hold back because it might offend him, it might offend her. I'm going to share shit with my passion, with my excitement, with how, however I want. And ultimately that has worked well for me in not only building a social tribe, but also building a business that is not only a domestic but an international company on helping entrepreneurs and business owners figure out how to be real, how to be raw, and how to be relevant with social media and with their company. So, my friends, that's that. I wanted to share that with you. Hopefully, that's a nugget that you can apply to your life. If you want to go deeper, if you want to go more, further, if you want to get quick results and figure out how to do this, quickly and efficiently with your company, with your business, that's where I encourage people to hire a coach, to reach out, whether it's to me or to somebody else who's doing the same thing. But naturally, if your media company, if your marketing company, if your social media company, if the head of that company or the people involved in that company are not generating millions of views, millions of comments, millions of engagements themselves, then you might be investing in the wrong place. You might have the wrong social media company helping you because you can pay somebody $10 an hour to just put up a meme once a week. But the reality is there is definitely a formula to this. I will tell you that you must be consistent. You must continue on doing this. And the deeper you go, the more you will connect with your tribe, the more you will connect with a potential audience and ultimately a potential buyer and or investor in whatever it is that you are connecting them to. So that's it, my friends. Be real, be raw, be relevant. And at the end of the day, that's the formula to get you results. So if this resonates with you, please share it. Please like the podcast, subscribe, leave a comment for me. This is just another outlet, another medium for me that I really, really enjoy. I not only enjoy, delivering nuggets and delivering value, but having conversations with really cool, badass people. And I'm continuing to grow the podcast in a real, raw, relevant way. But if this resonates with you too, if you have more questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can reach me at SeanWhalen.com. You can also reach me at Lions Not Sheep. Follow me on Facebook or Instagram. Shoot me a message, ping me a message, and we can have a conversation on how I and my company can potentially help you and your company or you and your message. But my friends, that's that. How did I get this video to where it is? Ultimately, I had no clue that it would go viral. I just simply shared something that was real. I shared the truth. I shared it with emotion, which was raw, and I connected the dots of the relevant, which is this is what's happening, this is what's going on, here's why I'm connected to this, here's why I'm having a conversation about this, and here we are 28, 27, 29 million views later, and literally just on my page alone, 1.3 million engagements, which somebody to touch your message, touch your deal 1.3 million times is pretty fucking amazing. That's pretty fucking phenomenal to know that it's got that much reach in 48 hours, and it's continuing to go. So, my friends, that's that. Make it an amazing day. God bless America. I'm out.